Welcome back to the Social Media Millionaire Podcast. Episode undisclosed. We're still trying to figure that one out.
We don't know what episode it is.
Eventually, we'll figure out what episode it is.
We're just here.
But we're just here for now. In this episode, we're going to be covering over, if you didn't hear, depending on what got cut and didn't get cut.
It just got dark in here.
Yeah, that's because we don't have blackout shades and we don't have lights on.
Nice.
I know, right? Isn't it so nice? So we have a work in progress podcast studio.
The studio is a work in progress.
Hence why it got dark, because
we don't have blackout blinds yet.
Because we can't agree on what the blinds will look like, even though the cameras won't be on the blinds. We did, though. You can't see them. We are getting wood paneling that's going to go behind us, and we have an awesome lighting setup. So once we get blackout blinds, eventually, this is going to be a sick setup.
Yeah.
So good lighting, good audio. Hopefully, we'll see, and multiple camera angles now, so we're like official.
Yeah, we decided we'd rather have a podcast setup than a guest room.
Yeah, we have so many guests over. They're gonna be so sad.
LOL.
Yeah, my sister will actually be sad if we don't.
Well, it's okay.
Move by the time she gets back.
We'll buy a new house for her, and she can like set up her room there. We'll have room for a podcast studio. It'll be fine.
Yeah, awesome. So many things going on. But yeah, it's exciting. So
the people want to know the tea about us being married and running the business together. That's
what tea? Like, do they want to know about us getting married, or do they want to like just be like?
Well, just like I think all the tea of like, I think how we got here and like what the conversation was like, or like if there was a conversation, how we decided that like we're gonna do the business like full time and we were gonna both be all into it, and like. I asked our team for
I'm in the chat
ideas because they obviously work with us, so I wanted to know like what they think we should tell people because they have to deal with us all day every day.
Such a great question. So I guess we can start in the beginning. Yeah. I slid into the DMs.
Oh, we're starting in like the beginning.
I mean, I feel like you have to. Okay. So,
Soren was the OG closer.
Well, just a little background on me. I've always semi-been obsessed with business. First autobiography I ever read was John Deere's because I grew up on a farm, and I was like, wow, that guy knows business because he always kept on improving on his plows. Which, funny enough, John Deere doesn't actually build plows anymore. They built their last one last year.
Thanks so much for sharing that.
You just get fascinating tidbits with me. Roll with it. So first autobiography, I was like, wow, he really knows business. He can make so much money. I read P.T. Barnum's autobiography,
I love P.T. Barnum.
I think in the 5th grade. And this wasn't actually like a willingly thing. This was a school assignment, but then they were like two of the most impactful books I read.
He's my spirit animal.
Yeah. And then in high school, I ended up doing a variety of like odd jobs to make money. Like I would cut firewood and sell cords of firewood.
You've always been like entrepreneurial.
Yeah, and then I tried to like right out of high school, I tried to start a drone business because like DJI was taking off and there was like these flyable drones, and I was like, I'll take pictures of your real estate. Yeah,
I still think you should do the real estate photography thing.
I probably should
in all of your spare time. I feel like that. I actually think that's a really good idea.
Maybe I should just like make a listing on Apple Maps and Google Maps and be like. Drone real estate photography.
All the things we know about business, and you're like, I'm just gonna put it on Apple Maps.
If we're being realistic, though, like
the strategy.
People search stuff like photographer all the time. Yeah, I mean it's like search. It'd be local traffic, and it's not like if I do a TikTok and I get 200 people in New York, they're not going to buy from me right now. We know so many real estate
agents. Why wouldn't you just ask them and be like, hey, I'll do like 5 listings for you for free, and then if you refer me to people.
That's true.
Then you'd have clients like
in all my free time.
Yeah, in all your free time.
Yeah. And then I served a mission for my church, got back from the mission, and did summer sales. If you don't know what summer sales is, you should definitely look it up.
If you don't know what summer sales is, you're lucky.
Yeah, you are lucky. Had a solar guy knock on my door yesterday, and I was like, oh, you ever sell bug juice? And he's like, you mean pest control? And I was like, yeah. Juice? And I was like, you really missed out. And he's like, really? Is it that good? And I was like, no, you just missed out on a lot of pain.
You just missed out on trauma.
Yeah.
Oh, did you give him an energy drink and a pat on the head?
Yeah, I talked to him for a minute. Well, we talked about BYU, and then he just kind of took off, and I was like, oh, I should have offered him a drink, and I felt really bad because
I know we have to.
it's hot.
I always try to like feed the sales bros because I feel bad for them.
He also made like $40K last summer, so I didn't feel too bad for him.
Well, I feel a little bad for him. I make more than that in a week.
Yeah. So, you know, did summer sales and then went up to college, and that's where I met you. And the reason why I say all of this is because I always like had like a bug in me to like start a business.
Yeah, it was never, it didn't take you a lot of convincing to be like, let's do this.
Well, it wasn't even me. I was convincing you.
Yeah.
Because we got married.
Yeah.
And I was still like selling like pest control. I hadn't found anything better yet. And I was still going to school for data science at that time. I just switched my major because I started off in business analytics. Then I went business finance. Then I went back. And I was like,
we
data
both
scientist.
got married and we were like, let's change our majors.
Yeah. Well, and like for me, it was like just like honing in. I realized like business finance, although cool, like it's just spreadsheets and it's like all information I could like read in a book. And I was like, I want a STEM degree because originally like when I got out of college, I was like doing mechanical engineering. So like to me, and like my grandpa was an engineer and my great grandpa was an engineer. So like engineering like runs in the family too. So like I have a itch to like build stuff with my hands and stuff. And I was like, oh, engineering, that's like where it's at. And then ended up doing data science. So, which is great because
well, it's good because then you weren't a finance bro because
still got the minor in
finance.
finance.
That would have been an ick.
And what's that song?
Looking for a man in finance.
6'5", blue eyes. Yeah.
Trust fund.
Only meet two of those criteria, unfortunately.
We'll let
I guess.
you guys decide which one that is.
Yeah, take a guess. Can't look if you're watching this. Anyways, yeah. So I always wanted to start a business, and then we got married.
Well, and remember when we were dating, I was like, I'm going to law school, and I want to work at like one of the big five, and you were like, oh, would you ever want to own start a firm?
Well, and
or,
that
like,
was like
own
one
a
of the
business?
questions because that was like the first thing I found out.
And I was like, no, like I know what it takes to run a business. I want no part of that. For the record, all of the negatives, I was right, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives. But I was 100% correct.
The funny thing is then I found out she had done like social media management for like someone she knew in the rodeo space. That's pretty big. And the more I learned, the more I was like, why didn't you just like...
As we're like dating, you're
even like a side hustle, like why don't you just like...
I'm like, because I don't
Do you know how many people would pay for that? Like...
I literally... Well, because I just like, I'd seen what it took to run a business. Yeah. Which I feel like maybe could be part of why we were so successful so fast was because I did go into it eyes wide open.
That too. The other thing is the way we did in the beginning is like we didn't have...
expectations.
We didn't have expectations. The other thing is like we ran it really lean for a long time, which made a big difference. I think, you know, if I could go back, I think we should have scaled the membership more. Mm-hmm. Hindsight's, you know, always 2020. Because it would have given us a better base, less employees.
Not that we don't love our team.
Yeah, not that we don't love our team. Obviously
just,
love them.
I think I would have done, yeah, I agree. I would have done things maybe in a different order.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it worked out fine.
Yeah, so.
Anyway. So, yeah, I was like, no, I don't want to have a business.
And
that sounds like too much work.
She didn't have one for, the first 8 months that we were married, really. But, like, then you got on the influencer kick, which... because that was probably like, honestly, that was probably peak influencer era, like end of 2019, early 2020.
Well, because you were like, you know how to do all this stuff. Why don't you like at least like grow your own social media? And I was like, okay.
Yeah. And then you started blogging and that took off too.
Yeah.
Very.
And like a month later, I had like 20K on Instagram. So you were like, why don't you grow your social media? So I did. And then it took me another 6 months to decide to turn it into a business.
Yeah. And honestly, it just kind of was like one thing led to another. Because like, if we're being real.
I started building the websites for people. And that's what ultimately like pushed us into like a full-fledged business.
And like, like to be a successful influencer online, to actually get brand deals from companies, I feel like you need hundreds of thousands of followers
Yeah,
and an extremely active audience.
20K on Instagram is not enough. I mean, you
even got up to like 40, but it was
Yeah.
like super small.
and
like,
you can get brand deals and stuff typically, but it's not a huge paycheck. It's not anywhere near to the income we wanted to be able to invest.
yeah. And part of it was like the people I was working with at the time, it was all like invest in real estate, invest in real estate, invest in real estate. So that was like the objective. It was like, can we get more cash flow to buy real estate, invest in real estate?
Yeah. So yeah, I started building websites, and then people were like, hey, can you help us drive traffic to the websites? And I was like, yeah, sure. So then I like swung back into management again. And then it just, once my TikTok took off, there were just too many people. It was like, I can't do management for all these people.
Mm-hmm.
So then I moved into doing consulting, and it was just like one-off calls. It was like 90-minute intensives and stuff.
Yeah. Which was just super awesome to begin with. It was kind of crazy. It was really surreal to watch. It was like,
I can't believe people want to pay to talk to me.
Yeah. Well, and it was like the amount, because you were probably doing about 30, like you're bringing in like 10K plus a month, which was, you're doing about 30 of those a month, or like one a day.
Our very first month actually being like, okay, this is a business, we did $9,999. I remember looking back I was looking at the Stripe receipts the other day.
Yeah.
We technically did 10K because remember I had that 1,000 coming on Venmo.
Oh, not Honeybook.
Oh, I didn't even count Honeybook.
That might
Maybe
have
we
been
did
the
more
next
than
month.
10K. That was probably the second month. But my point with this is the first month we did this as a business, we did 10K. Like the second that we were like, okay, let's be serious about this, it took off immediately, which I think is just a testament to like the knowledge and like skills that I already had coming into it.
Yeah.
I wasn't like floundering around.
Well, and the funny thing, like I talked to you about this the other day, but like the person you done this for, like not only did she have like an e-commerce brand, not only did she have a membership, not only did she do coaching, like she literally did everything that like anyone online with a social media brand would want to. And she did it, you know, into the multiple 7-figure range for multiple different businesses, if not 8 figures now.
Yeah. They're all multiple 8 figures now. Actually, I know for a fact that the one e-commerce brand is actually into 9 figures.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's actually insane.
Yeah.
And I don't, that's
Which is
just
awesome.
And it's just, I mean, that tested like product market fit and everything, because not very many companies make it that far.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then they sold one of the companies for, I think it was 50 mil.
That's a nice paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, all of that to say, I knew what I was doing. And I mean, we did come into like running a business, I feel like eyes wide open, because like I knew what it took. So we didn't flounder around. There wasn't as much of like a learning curve in the beginning. Not that we didn't make mistakes, because of course we did, but the time that it took us to learn was a lot shorter than most people, and to get to being like profitable was a lot shorter than most people.
Yeah, it's funny because we still get questions of like, is your business profitable? It's just
We're like, why would you have a business if it wasn't?
Well, and it's like, you can't like, I look at that question and I'm like, well, I feel like you don't have a business if it's not, if it's not profitable. Obviously some of your businesses take
you're
losses.
Like a growth, like,
or doing something that requires
where it's
lots of capital.
It's like tons of capital, but other than that, yeah, if you're like bootstrapping a business and you're not profitable, you suck.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, you just don't have a business. Like you either make money or you don't.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm like making large assumptions here, but like for the most part with like a lot of businesses, that's like what it's like.
Well, in any businesses that like we would work with, and anyone that we work with, especially it's like a service provider, it's like, okay, you have like no expenses. So if you're not profitable, like you have a problem. I don't know if I know this even, because like it just kind of happened. What made you decide like, okay, I'm not going to do anything else, I'm just going to work in the business?
Opportunity cost is a big one. I mean, that's why I quit doing sales, but then it was like, then I graduated and it's like, do I get a job And it was like right when ChatGPT 4 launched too. And I had a degree in data science. So it's like definitely could have got a high paying job, honestly, probably between 1 and 200.
Yeah.
Just because it was like ChatGPT being released was like.
But it was like, do you want to spend
of like
40
AI.
hours a week to make that in a year?
Well,
or
realistically, I would have spent 60.
Okay, 60 hours a week to make that in a year? Or would you rather spend 60 to 80 hours a week to do that in a month?
Yeah, and that was the thing too, is at that time we were already doing like over 7 figures a year. So even if we said, hey, we're going to take 50% as profit, we're going to spend 50% on business expenses and taxes, that would each put us at like 250 a year. So I was like, I would at least be 2 to 3 years, or going and getting a graduate degree, which would be at minimum 18 months to then go and.
It just made sense. Well, and I think that in a lot of ways it wasn't necessarily a strategic decision. It just kind of lucked out because the areas that I lack are the things that you're good at, and the things that you lack are the things that I'm good at.
Yeah. So we have a lot of, not even the opposite of overlap, whatever the opposite of overlap is.
Yeah. It's like we're two pieces of the puzzle of what's needed for a successful business.
Yin and yang.
Yeah.
And like to go into that, like I cover like taxes. I'll do like all of the finance. I'll do all of the data analytics. Trying to think what else I do. I do a lot of the technical stuff
about that, because there's a lot of people in the space that are like, oh, data and marketing is so important. And I'm like, you're looking at the Instagram analytics. That's not data analytics. Yeah. You need to like talk about that more, because people have no idea. Like the people that are like, oh, we do like data backed marketing. No, you don't. Do you have a data scientist on your team? No. Then no, you don't.
Well, yeah. I want to make a lot of content around that too, because I found that tool, and I want to make numbery content because apparently it performs really well.
Well,
if you can do it.
You're too humble. People are like, you like don't humble brag on yourself at all. You're just like, oh, here's the numbers. And then you run away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't care. Well, and that's the thing is like, I don't care about myself being better. I just want my clients to do better. So, I mean, that's how I look about that.
But your clients would do better because you'd have more of them if they knew what you did.
Yeah, I know. I know. And I'm working on it. It's just a lot of the things I want to do too are going to, the work I want to put into it is difficult. Not having an audience, if that makes sense.
You don't take marketing advice from me very well.
No, I don't.
I'm like, why don't you do this? And you're like,
neither of us take very good marketing advice from each other. It usually devolves into multi-month like marketing campaigns to each other to get the opposite one of us. And I do the same thing with her. I'm like,
we like market to each other to try to get what we want.
The numbers don't make sense, babe. And she'll be like, whatever, I'm the best marketer in the world. And it'll just take like legit like months to convince her, and then it's like, oh,
I know more than you.
We had our biggest months ever. Surprise! Wow, I'm shocked. Anyways, and then she'll bully me into doing stuff, and then she's like, "See, you got like 1,000 views," and I'll be like, "Yeah, that's way better than anything I've done." Anyways, because we're just at two different points.
You're like, "Wow, that's better than the 12 views I got in my last video."
My last 100 videos. Anyways, so. Okay, yeah. And then I also do all the technical stuff. So like the podcast setup, please don't bully me right now. I got a bunch of like R50s running.
You got like so much stuff, but it's not like all connected and set yet.
Yeah. Anyways, don't bully me. This is all theoretically going to look better. Part of it's our lighting. Part of it is...
Honestly, no one cares. We have a better setup that's like half jury rigged together than 90% of people out there. So... Yes. I don't care.
I just strive for perfection.
Great. Let's unpack that a little bit.
No, thank you. Reverse. So how do we separate business and personal life? That's one of the questions that I got in here.
I feel like we don't.
Yeah, I mean, we have both of our offices upstairs. So theoretically, once we come down the stairs, we're supposed to leave our laptops up there. But it depends on the day, because sometimes I leave mine up there and Kenda doesn't. Sometimes she leaves her up there and I don't. It just depends what we're working on. And like tonight, I'm going to probably spend 6 hours working on like
the strategy is supposed to be laptops upstairs, iPads downstairs, because that limits the amount of work that you can really do.
Yeah, so like it basically only limits you to like just Slack,
Yeah.
And or YouTube Studio. I'm obsessed with YouTube Studio.
But we don't always do that. But that's like the physical separation. And then we both have separate offices. I could be wrong in this, but I think, well, we used to have one office when we lived in Denver, and we were together.
Was terrible, to be honest.
It was hard because I would be trying to like take a Zoom call, and then Sorna be like trying to be on like a class or something.
Because I was still going to school at that point. Kenda was smarter and dropped out, and I was still going to school.
Yeah.
Took me until I graduated to drop out.
You had like one semester left and you're like, I'm done.
I perpetually had one semester left for like 2 years. Anyways.
But yeah, it was hard. But then, yeah, once we moved and we both had separate offices, then, well, we had separate offices in the first house we bought. And then once we turned that into investment property, we moved here. We also still had separate offices.
Yeah.
And that was like important to us to like maintain. I feel like once we had that separation.
I feel like the really big thing in the future actually is going to be separate offices, podcast studio, and or a recording studio, because then it's like, okay, you're only working here versus you come in a specific spot to do content. I feel like that'll actually make a huge difference as well. Not necessarily in our relationship.
That's not like a
but
relationship
just like,
thing though. That's just like a productivity thing overall. But like in terms of like separation, like I feel like we do a good job of separating if there's like frustrations on either side.
Yeah.
But when it's not frustrations and we're just like working on things, I don't feel like there is separation, because like we talk about it nonstop. Like you and I will like go on a date night and we'll be like talking about business, but it's not where like either of us are like, oh,
it just
my
comes
gosh.
up.
It's just, yeah, it comes up naturally. And I think
or we're sharing like a podcast we listen to, or audiobook that we, or a book that you read, you know,
because like we'll talk business, but it's not always like specifically like about clients or like specifically about business. It's more like strategy or like things we want to do, and like I don't know, because we both seem to really enjoy what we do.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go so far as to be like, if it feels like you're a hobby, you'll never work again, because like it's still, I mean, it's still work, but like
it's work.
We both like care so much about it that it doesn't feel like an invasion for us to like talk about it on date night. No. You know? So.
And I think that really goes back to like, if you're going to start a business with a partner, you need to make sure you can both enjoy it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And that you're both passionate enough about it.
Yeah.
Other than that, and you know, if we didn't have a business, we'd still be, whatever jobs we had, we'd be talking about guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I feel like when it comes to then like disagreements, it's funny because Ellie brought this up when I think we were at the VIP day with Brandy, and she just was like, it's so funny because if you didn't know them, like working with them, you'd never know they were married. Like you'd have no idea. And I do feel like when it comes to like us actually working in the business, we do a really good job of separating. Like we don't really disagree in our like personal life. Usually any disagreement we have is around the business.
Yeah, we have very few personal disagreements. We argue way more over the business than we do anything else.
Yeah. And like those, on the off chance that we have like a personal disagreement, it never comes into the business at all. Mm-hmm.
And if you guys want to know what the disagreements are that we disagree in the business, one is Kenda wants to redo the website like every other day. She's like, it's the reason why we're not rich yet. Okay. You know, and I'm like,
the website is beautiful, and I've redone it so many times now that I've gotten it to where I like it.
Do you know how much traffic we get on the website per month?
You should redo the website over and over.
We get like 3,000 page hits per month. Do you know how much of that traffic converts?
The traffic doesn't like go to the website.
Like 0%.
It doesn't go to the website.
No, but that's how much traffic we get on the website.
No, I know, because we don't really drive traffic to the website.
It still gets like a couple thousand a month from Google Analytics and like search, and people just find it. I'm just telling you how it converts.
Great. Thanks so much.
So, and then my thing is, I'm like, since I'm the finance bro and I love to leverage capital, I'm like, let me run ads.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, because
I'm
like,
we could run ads and we could do this, this, and this.
We could leverage capital.
Once we hit 8 figures, you can run ads to your heart content.
So I'm just trying to figure out how to do that.
I just want to get there so that I can give a great big ol' F you to everyone who's like, oh, it's so dumb not to run ads. Okay, well, I don't spend my money on ads. I have a bigger profit margin, and I invested more in real estate, and I'm going to retire 40 years before you do. So it stuck a big toe.
Yeah. So those are our two major arguments.
Yeah.
I think the website does look great though. And I think it is great for brand. It just doesn't convert to booked calls.
Well, that's because there's so many places for people to go, and there's like such a depth of resources on there.
Well, and the thing that it does help with though is the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we get enough external traffic from it
Well,
on
and
videos.
I know that like I should care about the conversion of it, but the thing is like to me the fact that it doesn't convert into calls is almost a positive because people go there, and I know people consume the resources. I know people go into like the archives. I know people go to the podcast and the YouTube channel. And so it's almost like they do so well, and there's so much knowledge and information there that like they don't need to book a call with us, which I know I shouldn't want because, you know, we're running a business, but like I kind of like it a little.
Yeah. Well, I ideally though is, I mean,
but I mean, the book calls come from other places though. Like it doesn't have to come from the website.
yeah, no, it doesn't. I'm squeezing everything.
But those are like two things I feel like that we disagree about. But one thing I will say though is like, which I don't know if this is positive or negative, but I personally like it, is like if we're on a team meeting and you and I like disagree on something, we're not going to like take it off the call or be like, let's take this offline. Like we'll just like disagree and like have a conversation just like we would if like you were any other coworker.
Well, and it's usually because one of us is too far to an extreme.
Yeah.
And we usually end up finding somewhere in the middle that works really, really, really well.
And
so,
yeah,
that's the bonus of having.
We don't like treat each other differently inside the business
Aspects. Yeah.
And I also feel like us being able to challenge each other on calls and stuff with the team, also because like we are married, I can see how it could be hard for like the team to be able to bring up things, you know, about one of us, you know, if they have feedback. And so I think us being able to have that healthy discourse makes it more of a safe space for any team members to bring up anything about either of us or any type of feedback.
Yeah.
Because we kind of set that tone where it's like we're open to that. Like we want you to challenge us if you think we're like not doing something well or if you have a better idea.
Yeah, I really value that because, and when you can just like look at history, I'm a huge nerd when it comes to like World War II and stuff. And it's like every time, like if you look at leaders, it's always the leaders that just had a bunch of like yes men surrounding them that like led their countries into like peril, you know, and either lost wars, lost lives, or, you know.
And I think even though we might have differing views on like specific strategies or like tactics or like ways to go about things, we're aligned in the big picture and like what we want the culture to be like and what we want results to be measured against and that type of thing.
The other one is how have the roles changed and shifted as the business has grown, and we've set different like expectations and transitioned.
I feel like we kind of shift back and forth as we go through like different seasons of the business. Like sometimes you're more in charge of managing the team and kind of steering the ship when I'm more in like a creative space or if I'm like overwhelmed. And then sometimes I'm more involved in like steering the ship when you need to be like head down, like building dashboards or doing like finance stuff or whatever. I feel like we do a really good job of kind of naturally stepping in and just filling gaps, and it fluctuates back and forth based off of like what's needed at the time.
My joke that I always tell people when they ask what I do is I say, I always do whatever she tells me to until we hire someone to do it.
Yeah. No, that's basically it though. Like as we grow, we're like, okay, we need somebody to do this. Usually you take it over.
And it's like right now I'm running the sales team. Is that my best quality or trait? No. But it's what I'm doing until like we get a sales manager, right? Until the company's big enough for that.
Well, and you like edited until we had editors.
Yeah.
And you did like CSM work until we hired a CSM. And so you kind of
I do what needs to be done.
You fill the gaps that we have.
Kenda keeps her foot on the gas with like marketing, and I just work on building the bridge.
Yeah. Until
we get there, which has worked pretty well.
You know,
I'm not gonna say the best, but
you know the adage where it's like you jump off the cliff and then build the plane on the way down.
Yeah.
Like that's how you be successful in business.
Yeah.
I jump off the cliff and you build the plane.
And you're like, hey, Soren, here's the instructions. Oh, wait, never mind. There's no instructions. I need a plane.
I want a plane to look kind of like this and do this thing. And you're like, okay. And then I jump.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
This is a good one. How do you guys help each other deal with stress? And how do you support each other through the tougher moments?
We don't. No,
that's not true at all.
I'm very supportive of Kenda.
You're very like level-headed.
I'm like, hey, like
you don't get mad.
I'm like, do the bird's eye view. Look at this, from 1,000 feet in the air. It's not a big deal. I also try and make things, at least for Kenda, because realistically, my job can be done tomorrow. Kenda's job cannot be done tomorrow. It has to be done today, every single day, which is marketing. She's the face of the brand. I'm working on building my personal brand, but my personal brand is not there to carry the brand. So when, like, my job, like, and as far as stress goes, like, I help her show up every day that's possible, right? Mm-hmm. That's what gives us the biggest return in the long run. And then
I'm Grant, you're Elena.
Yeah, I guess.
You didn't think that was nearly as funny as I did.
At first I thought you made a reference to Scandal. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I thought,
you're Melly.
And then I was like, why did you say Grant and not Alex? Because I thought you said Layla. And because it's kind of like reverse roles on that. Like, like Alex goes out
like
and like just gets these. No,
Cardone. Because she's always
I get it now.
She's like, I'm the support. It's my job to support.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even view it as like that. I just, which is terrible. I just view my job as to make your life easier and keep you going. Again, because like I can put in I can analyze another investment property tomorrow if I needed to. I can, there's more deals to be found in that sense. Like building another dashboard can be done tomorrow, but like making your life easier, typically speaking, has been better in the short run. And again, eventually, hopefully, like, we have like a Ramsey Solutions type panel of like creators that, all right, great. Kenda's like not feeling it this week. That's chill. Get to work, guys. Like, ideally. And, that's like the idea of building it down the road, which is funny that we haven't seen more businesses actually try and do that.
Well, but anyways, when something comes up and like I'm mad, when I get triggered by like a comment or like a client says something or whatever, then you're the one that like calms me down. I'm like, I'm gonna sue them into oblivion. And you're like, okay, let's put down the pitchfork.
I'm like, that doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but they don't have any money. I don't know what you're gonna sue them for. Just like
Soren's like, don't light their house on fire.
Yeah. I'm like, it doesn't really matter that much. Let's just go replace the client. It's no big deal. Yeah, which I get it because
I'm
like
the hothead and you're like even tempered.
Clients can be extremely annoying.
Not even annoying. It's like deeply offensive.
Yeah, they can say or do things, and it's like, you're attacking my livelihood, man.
Well, and it's crazy because and we've talked about this on other episodes and we know this now, but almost always when there's any sort of issue with a client, it comes out later that like, oh, their boyfriend broke up with them that day.
Yeah.
Their parent died.
And then we're just like the punching bag that like, oh, the economy's bad, so screw you, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
We get to be
But you don't know that in the moment. Bag. They make up some excuse and they go straight for the jugular because, they want out of whatever uncomfortable situation that they're in, and you're the punching bag. And, like when you're in a program, like, with what we do.
I just could never fathom hiring a business coach and then saying some of the things that people say to us to them. Like the level of unprofessionalism and honestly just like out and out insanity. It's like sometimes I read messages and I'm like, Are you
Well,
stupid?
and it's funny. We've
like,
had
I'm
stuff
not your
said to
mom. I'm not
us
your therapist.
from business coaches that it's also wild.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, people just have to like, you just gotta chill out and take a step back, and
It's never that deep.
the sun's still gonna come up, the world's still gonna spin.
Well, and we talk about this all the time too, which again, you help me calm down because there's so many coaches out there specifically that it's like $20,000 to talk to them in Voxer, and like that's it.
Yeah.
And like people get so much from us. There isn't another program in the entire industry that has as much support as us.
Slack,
But
school, modules, daily calls.
People still find things to complain
one-on-ones.
about. And it's like if
wild.
you can complain to us, I don't know how these other coaches are in business.
Well, and it's so funny because the amount of money that we have invested just in our own education, and then brought that also with us to our program, there's very few people in the industry
That are
who have
willing
actually
to
done
do
that.
Yeah.
Most people, like, they hire like one or two coaches, they spend like 10, maybe 20K, and they're like, oh, I'm just so smart, I'm such a genius, right? And they
We've
read 3 or
spent-
4 books.
After this last investment, which I'm going to talk about more eventually, because I don't know. Who doesn't want to know the tea about working with Taylor Swift's marketing team? But anyway, I just, it boggles my mind because what we do and like our programs are so far, now I'm getting off on a tangent, are so far superior to anything else in the industry, and we care so much more and invest so much more in our like continued development,
And
that when people can find things to complain to us, I'm like, you have no idea how good you have it.
and this isn't like to like toot our own horn, and we're not perfect by any
Toot.
means. Come on. Again, me calming her down. No, but in all reality, we've worked really hard to like build the program that we have built. And at the end of the day, we're continually improving it. And it, you know, it's not perfect, but
We make
Compared
improvements
to-
to it every single day.
compared to some of our price points, like if you're looking at scale, we haven't been in a program that is charged at that price point that offer like,
We've paid 3 times as much for programs that aren't even half as good.
it's like a 20K plus program packed into 6K. Just going to
Yeah.
throw that out there compared to what most people in the industry do.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's just a little wild for me sometimes with how people act.
But again, I feel like the alignment that we have and like the understanding of like, here's what's out there, here's the quality, here's the values, like that helps us to stay in sync, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. You don't seem to get super stressed. I don't feel like I'm very supportive, but I feel like a lot of times I don't need to be. Like, you're like, here's the number. I'm like having a conniption fit, and you're like, well, here's the numbers. We're actually at 50%.
Yeah. Well, you usually freak out all the times you don't need to, in my opinion.
Thanks so much
Yeah.
for that.
So,
That's fair, though.
anyways.
That's true.
And then I'm like, okay, there's a really big boulder rolling down the hill. We need to move. And you're like, we're fine. I'm like, but again, there's like different things that like set me off versus like that set Kenda off.
Yeah.
So mine is tax season.
True. You're problematic around tax season.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing about working together is that when I get mad, I can't fire you. I'm just like stuck with you.
Can you please fire me? Is that an option?
I've tried to fire you so many times. You're like, you can't fire me.
I didn't even know that was an option.
Are there things that you've like learned about me from like working together that make it easier or harder to be married to me?
I plead the fifth. Just kidding. Ow.
Tell me. Tell me this.
Anyways, more than any, I mean, I don't know. I know how your brain operates more, and I know what your tendencies are. So I mean, it's both beneficial and like if there are things that irritate me, they're obviously like more pronounced, but I'm usually more used to them. Yeah, not really though. It doesn't make it like harder. Usually, I'm just annoyed about things you do in the business, like the website example.
You're really hung up on that damn website.
Oh, honey, that was the bane of my existence for like 3 years, 2.5, 3 years almost. It's been 6 or 8 months since she's redone the website. It's been the longest period of time that she hasn't screwed with the website. And I've been thoroughly impressed. Because usually
I'm
every
back at
2
it again
seconds
today because I'm making a sales page for the society.
Yeah, that's different though. But it also frustrates me because you're making it on Show It, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why are you making it on Show It? Anyways,
because
another story.
our whole website's on Show It. Where else
But
would I
all
put
of our
it?
Legion stuff is on GHL.
Well, that's a personal problem. Our website.
What do you mean that's a personal problem? That's where all of our leads go. And like you.
That's a you problem. We can connect it to GHL.
But the analytics aren't on GHL. You're gonna write a custom API to get the analytics over there?
Maybe.
Do it.
Fine, I will.
She won't.
But I could, which is important.
I don't think you could.
Know. I definitely could.
I don't think you could.
I definitely could.
I couldn't, so I don't think you could.
I definitely could.
Doubt it.
I definitely could.
Unless you do it, there's no proof. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's also not worth your time.
No, it's not. We have Hotjar on the website. It's good enough.
No.
Cries in data bro.
Her sole objective in life is to make as many platforms as possible for me to run to look up numbers and data and make them impossible to connect to each other. It's death by 1,000 cuts.
You like it. You know you do.
No.
Here's the last question. How do you not become business partners or like turn to friends or like roommates and be husband and wife and still in love while building a business?
That's a great question.
Are we still in love?
Are we? Sup, bestie?
Sup, bestie?
Sup, sister?
I feel like...
Ooh, that's the dark side of the internet.
That was painful.
Yeah.
I'm in physical pain.
All right. You were saying?
Oh, I don't remember what I was going to say. Oh, well, I don't feel like the business affects our relationship at all.
No, we try and do our days separate so we have stuff to share at the end of the day.
Well, and I don't feel like it's just like the fact that we keep it separate. I just feel like it doesn't affect it. Like, I don't know. I could be super mad at you about something in the business, but like that doesn't affect.
Yeah, but that was like less of
you.
like, it wasn't like an argumentative question. It was more of a relationship based questions. How do we not become brother and sister? Because it's like, okay, so you're so good at being business partners.
How you went so like you swung so hard to like Sweet Home Alabama. You went from like business partners to brother and sister.
Well, that was like
you live in Colorado,
like roommates, brother sister, like whatever vibes, whatever you want to call it, roommates.
I mean, we do. I mean, I feel like the main thing that most people would say is like do date nights, prioritize your relationship.
Yeah,
which we do. I don't feel like we're not like the best at it.
No, I try and haul your butt out every Friday.
Yeah, you're better than me at it.
It's also hard because of where we currently live. We need to be in a bigger city, which, yeah. I mean, there's like outdoor stuff things. Oh, man, that came out hard. There's outdoorsy things here to do.
Yeah.
But
it's not like date night activities.
Yeah. It's not like date night activities.
Which we still do and like we have fun together.
And it's like we go mountain biking all the time. We go skiing all the time.
But I feel like it's less of a concern for us because you can tell me if you disagree with this. But from my perspective, I feel like even though we did get married like really fast.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, and this is going to sound bad, but like hear me out. It wasn't like whirlwind romance, you know, like it just, everything fell into place and it just felt right. And it was like so obvious that we were like a good match for each other that it's like, of course I loved you, but it also like logistically made sense. And like, we just kind of made sense together. Like it was not only like, did we love each other, but like it was also a very like logical decision where it was like this makes a lot of sense. And so from that side, like we've never been super like overly emotional about our relationship. And like even though we did get married fast, I feel like we've always just been kind of like best friends from the beginning, and like we spent so much time together, and it wasn't always even like in a super like romantic way, in my opinion. I feel like I always felt like I feel like I'm friend zoning my husband. I always felt like
it's okay, bestie.
It's okay, bestie.
Anyways,
Bruh. But I just feel like we've always been like really good friends from the beginning, even though we like got married fast. It never felt like this insane whirlwind romance where I've just like lost my head, you know, like it made a lot of sense, and we were really aligned on a lot of things, and we were able to like talk and have really good conversations and like really connect in that way. And like our values were the same, and like our desires
I feel like it's really
were
been the same as we built the business.
Yeah.
So it's been
exactly
easy.
And I feel like because we had more of that like foundation of, I want to say, friendship, then it's made it easier to like build the business together, because it hasn't really affected the dynamic of our relationship. It's just an extension. It's like it's just another thing that we do together.
Yeah. I mean, we have more memories and a stronger relationship because of it. So
yeah. Well,
and it's fun. We live our lives, and we go on more vacations because of it, and we're set up to have more time together because of it. So to actually work on a relationship. So
yeah.
And
we have that more like freedom of time. We're both able to travel. It's not like we're trying to get like schedules to line up and stuff. Like if we want to take a trip and like go somewhere for a week, like we just do it.
Yeah.
And so that's
the nice thing.
We're able to do those things. Well, and I'd also say the last thing I'd say is like, if you are, I feel like this is going to sound really bad. I think that if you can't work together, you probably have bigger problems in your relationship. Because if you don't if you don't respect each other enough to be able to like take ideas and disagree and have that like healthy discourse,
if you can't have a professional relationship, how can you have a romantic relationship?
Well, yeah, and it's like if you don't trust each other enough or respect each other enough to trust the other person in the business, trust their decisions, trust that kind of thing, you have deeper issues, and it goes much deeper than business. Yeah,
so at the end of the day, if you're looking to go into business with your partner, just go into it eyes wide open.
Yeah, don't be afraid of it. Just recognize that like there's going to be things that you don't see eye to eye on, and like that's healthy. It's positive to have multiple perspectives in a business.
And for some people in some relationships, it might not be the best option, but you know, I think a lot of people can manage it.
I also say I think that having a business coach can be really helpful to get that third party perspective, because when we feel like there's like a push and pull on something, getting that third like outside perspective of like, no, that's really not a good idea, just like settles any debate between us. It's kind of like the same principle of like why people go to like marriage counseling, is to like, you know, have that mediator almost, so that everybody feels seen and heard. I feel like doing that with a business coach, if you're like married to your partner, having an outside perspective that can kind of settle some of these things and give that like extra, you know, 2 cents where like
makes life easier.
You guys are just, I'd say like my last thing would be the business. You shouldn't be on 2 sides of the business against each other. You should be on the same team working on the business.
And that comes down to like goals and planning and making sure those are aligned. If those are aligned, you're not going to really have problems.
And if you're working to make each other's job easier rather than thinking about what the other person can do for you in the business, I think you'll be just fine.
Yeah. So that's it. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the channel. Bruh. If you're watching, we just like fist bumped each other, so.
Great. We do that a lot.
If you're not watching,
that's our version of making out. It's a fist bump.
Yeah. Sup,
homie.
All right. Subscribe to the channel.
Leave us a review. A nice one.
We live for the podcast reviews.
We do.
And be sure to follow Kenda on Instagram and TikTok at kenda.laney. That is KENDA.LANEY. And also me.
Yeah, follow Soren. He really needs the help.
SOREN at Laney or .Laney. LANEY.
Are you flexing your muscles right now?
all the time.
You just gave me the ick.
I do this about twice a day. Don't worry.
Thanks for being here. We'll see you in the next episode.
Probably most unhinged podcast ever.
Okay, bye.
Later.